Welcome, deep divers, to another expedition into the ideas that truly shape our world. I'm thrilled you're with us today.
Me too.
Because we're plunging into a topic that feels, well, universally relatable, yet often maddeningly elusive. True productivity. You know that feeling, right? Where you're constantly busy, working like crazy, checking off endless to-do lists.
Yeah, been there.
But at the end of the day, you feel like you haven't actually accomplished anything genuinely meaningful.
Absolutely. The author we're digging into today describes his own frantic period, finishing a book, grappling with a new baby, navigating a demanding job at the New York Times.
Wow.
All while feeling perpetually behind the curve. It's a classic modern paradox.
It really is. We're living in this age just boosting with advanced communication and technology. We have smart devices, apps, tools designed to make everything easier and faster.
Or so they promise.
Right. Yet, for so many of us, our days feel more stressed, more work-filled, and ironically, less productive in a way that actually feels good.
Yeah, it seems we've become almost, completely obsessed with the tools of productivity rather than really taking the time to understand the fundamental principles underneath it all.
You've hit on the core dilemma there. And it's precisely that deeper understanding we're hoping to unpack today. We're not here to talk about, another shiny new app or some quick time management hack.
No quick fixes today.
Instead, we're embarking on a deep dive into something more surprising. That true sustainable productivity isn't really about working longer hours or making more sacrifices. It's about making certain choices in very specific ways.
Exactly. And these choices, they're quite profound. They involve how we perceive ourselves, how we frame our decisions, how we build community, and how we foster genuinely creative cultures.
So our mission for you, our listener, is to give you a powerful shortcut.
Right. By the end of this deep dive, you'll walk away exceptionally well informed on what truly drives productivity, not just what looks like productivity on the surface.
We've meticulously extracted the most surprising facts and, importantly, highly actionable insights from the sources. We'll guide you through the science, the techniques, the opportunities.
To become smarter, faster, and better at, well, pretty much everything you do.
And we really are going to cover a lot of ground. We'll start by delving into the deep roots of motivation.
Yep, where it all starts.
Then explore how to build incredibly effective teams.
Yeah.
We'll pivot to mastering focus in this super distracted world.
Which is crucial.
Setting truly impactful goals. Making decisive choices even when things are uncertain.
We'll also look at fueling genuine innovation. And finally, how to absorb data efficiently. Because we're drowning in it, right?
Totally drowning. It's going to be an illuminating journey. So let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Let's begin right at the fundamental question. What does productivity truly mean? And why do we so often get it wrong in our relentless pursuit of it?
Yeah, it's a slippery concept.
I think we all carry our own, often unexamined personal definitions, don't we? For some, maybe it's just getting through that overflowing email inbox.
Or hitting the gym consistently.
Yeah.
But
are those definitions really capturing true productivity?
that's precisely the core concept we need to grapple with first. Productivity, at its heart, it's our conscious attempt to find the best uses for our finite energy, our intellect, our precious time.
Right.
All aiming to achieve meaningful rewards with minimal wasted effort. And you're absolutely right. It's profoundly subjective.
Also.
Well, an hour of intense physical exercise might be deeply productive. For one person, boosts their mental clarity, physical well-being,
Sure.
But for another, that same hour spent diligently clearing out their inbox could be just as productive. It clears mental clutter, drives business forward. The context is just everything.
Or think about it differently, like a cutting-edge researcher or maybe an artist.
Yeah.
They might measure productivity not in finished products, but in a series of, quote, failed experiments or discarded canvases.
Because each apparent mistake isn't really a failure for them. It's a vital step closer to a big discovery or a creative breakthrough.
Whereas, an engineer on a factory floor might rigorously measure it by how quickly and efficiently they can make an assembly line run faster.
Totally different metrics, but equally productive endeavors, depending on the goal.
Exactly. Even defining a productive weekend could mean like a leisurely walk in the park, totally unplugged, engaged with your kids.
Sounds lovely.
Well, a productive workday might involve the stress of rushing them to daycare just to get to the office early.
Right. The definition truly shifts not just based on the context of the activity, but also on our deeply held personal values and what meaningful rewards really means to you in that specific moment. It's dynamic, not static.
And it's this very personal, often frustrating experience that led to our author's aha moment.
Ah, yes, the origin story.
He found himself amidst that truly frantic period we mentioned, book deadlines, new baby,
Yeah.
demanding job, feeling completely overwhelmed, perpetually behind.
Sounds familiar to many. And frankly, a bit desperate. So he reached out to someone he really admired, Atul Gawande, surgeon, writer, public health researcher.
Yeah, a real polymath. Seemed like this paragon of success.
Exactly. Someone who managed to accomplish an astonishing amount without, it seemed, falling into constant overwhelm. He basically asked, "What's your secret? How do you do it?" And the realization he had was really profound, because what he found wasn't some magic pill or a secret time management trick. No. It was the understanding that some people genuinely know how to be productive without that constant, suffocating feeling of being underwater, without the anxiety of endless busy work. And that sparked the author's relentless quest for these underlying secrets, these fundamental principles.
And that's basically what we're doing today for you, our listener.
Precisely. This deep dive isn't about quick tips or tricks. It's about fundamental shifts in how we approach work and life. Recognizing the choices, conscious and unconscious, that determine our effectiveness and, frankly, our fulfillment.
Which brings us nicely to a fascinating biological imperative that lies at the root of all this, our internal locus of control. Biology matter.
We often think of motivation as just willpower, right? Like, grit your teeth and push through. But there's a much deeper brain mechanism at play.
Absolutely. Our brain has this incredible command center, a region called the striatum. Think of it like a central dispatch system.
Okay.
It's responsible for linking the decisions we make in our prefrontal cortex, the rational, planning part, to the actions and emotions that come from the basal ganglia. It's crucial for turning intentions into actions, and it helps regulate mood and drive.
And when that system gets damaged, the effects on motivation can be huge.
Huge. Profound, even. There's this truly tragic story that illustrates it perfectly. Robert, a 60-year-old man full of life, goes on this trip to South America with his wife, Viola.
Right.
After some pretty standard altitude sickness, he suddenly develops this profound, almost terrifying apathy. Just loses all interest in life. No reading, no friends, no conversation spark.
That's chilling. What happened? Doctors were baffled. Couldn't find anything medically wrong until months later, MRIs showed these tiny pinpricks of burst vessels, minuscule injuries inside his striatum.
Wow, that's small.
Almost infinitesimally small. Some colleagues even doubted they could explain such a dramatic change, but the result was this almost total loss of motivation. His intelligence, his awareness, all intact. But the elan vital, that vital spark, the drive to do anything, gone.
Just gone.
He'd sit motionless unless directly prompted. It just starkly highlights how central the striatum is to our intrinsic drive.
And here's where it gets really interesting, connecting back to choice. Mauricio Delgado's experiment.
Ah, Delgado's work, yes. Very cool.
He had people play a simple card game while in an fMRI scanner. When they got to make their own guesses about the cards, what happened in their brains?
Their striata lit up like Christmas trees, intense activity, signaling anticipation, excitement, the biological signature of motivation. But in the rounds where the computer made the guesses for them, even if the outcome was the same, that striatal activity just plummeted.
So it wasn't just about winning or losing.
No. This is critical. It shows that the feeling of control, the perception that our choices actually matter, isn't just a psychological preference. It's a fundamental neurological prerequisite for motivation.
Wow. Without that sense of agency, even potentially fun stuff loses its sparkle.
Exactly. It's not just the outcome, it's the value of the act of choosing.
And this has massive relevance today, doesn't it? Thinking about how the economy's shifted.
Hugely relevant. Back in, say, 1980, over 90% of the U.S. workforce reported to a traditional boss in a hierarchy.
Right.
Now, a staggering third or more are freelancers, contractors, gig workers, navigating roles without those traditional structures.
So in this new world,
in this new landscape, skills like self-motivation, setting your own goals, prioritizing your own tasks, they're not just nice-to-haves anymore. They're essential for survival and success.
the most successful people are the ones who know how to decide for themselves how to spend their time and energy.
Exactly. But here's the really good news. It's not some innate trait you either have or you don't. It's a profoundly learned skill. You can cultivate it.
That's incredibly encouraging. But, okay, it sounds almost too simple. If it's learned, What are the first tangible steps? How do we actually cultivate that self-determination, build that internal locus of control?
Great question. And it starts with how we perceive our own abilities and how we handle feedback. Carol Dweck's famous study with fifth graders is a powerful example.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so kids who were specifically praised for their effort, which boosts self-determination, that growth mindset idea.
Right. Effort, not intelligence.
Exactly. Rather than being praised for innate intelligence, those kids consistently chose harder puzzles, worked longer on tough tasks, and actually enjoyed the process more.
Wow, just from changing the praise.
Just from changing the praise, it vividly shows that this internal locus of control can be reawakened, strengthened through the right kind of feedback and, importantly, self-talk. It's shifting from I am smart to I am capable because I try.
So it's less about fixed talent, more about believing your actions make a difference. That feels crucial today, when so much feels out of our hands.
It truly is. And you see this principle applied under extreme conditions in the Marine Corps crucible.
The crucible. Intense.
Incredibly intense. It's this grueling 54-hour endurance event. Pushed to absolute limits, sleep deprivation, minimal food.
Sounds brutal.
It is. But a key, often overlooked, part of the training is actively asking themselves why they're enduring it. Take Quintanilla, one recruit mentioned.
Okay.
He motivated himself through unbelievable hardship by explicitly linking his immediate suffering, the pain, the exhaustion directly to his newborn daughter and his family.
Connecting it to a bigger purpose.
Exactly. Connecting the hardship to his larger goal of building a better life for them. It transforms an imposed challenge into a chosen sacrifice. It wasn't just about toughing it out. It was finding deep personal meaning in the struggle.
That's powerful, turning a chore into a choice.
Precisely. That's when self-motivation really kicks in and sustains itself. And we see this in, well, what I call everyday rebellions, too.
Like what?
Think about nursing home residents. Despite all the rules, they assert control by personalizing their rooms or even just choosing their own meals.
Yeah.
One resident famously preferred a second-class meal he chose over a better one forced on him.
So even small acts of defiance matter psychologically.
Immensely powerful assertions of control. And bringing it back to Robert, the man who lost his motivation.
Yeah, with the striatum injury.
His wife, Viola, slowly brought him back. She forced him, gently but persistently, to make daily choices. Tiny ones. What to eat, where to sit, what music.
Day after day.
Day after day. These small stations of control, practiced consistently, eventually led him to laugh again, to engage, and slowly, the old Robert started to reemerge. It shows the plasticity, the trainability of this locus of control. Absolutely. So, the actionable insight for you, our listener, is this. To strengthen your own internal locus of control, to really foster self-motivation, you need to regularly reward initiative, celebrate self-determination in yourself and others, and consistently ask why.
Connect the small stuff to the big picture.
Yes. Connect those mundane chores to a larger constellation of meaningful goals and values. This transforms tasks from obligations into meaningful choices that you actively embrace. Show yourself, through your choices, that you are fundamentally in control.
Fantastic. Okay, let's shift gears now. From individual motivation to how we achieve big things together. Teams.
Teams, the source of so much joy and frustration.
Right. Many of us have felt that frustration of a dysfunctional team where talent feels wasted. Or conversely, that amazing rush when a team just clicks.
Where the sum is way greater than the parts.
Exactly. And Google, with its massive people analytics division, actually set out to scientifically figure this out. Project Aristotle, right.
Project Aristotle, yes. A huge multi-year study. They noticed in their internal surveys that employees kept mentioning teams. Great manager, but my team never clicked. It was a recurring theme.
I can totally relate. Julia, the management consultant mentioned, talks about her stressful business school study group, everyone jostling, competing.
Yeah, nightmare fuel.
Versus a cohesive case competition team that felt exciting, supportive, super effective. So Google, with all its data, all its brilliant minds, they must have found the perfect formula, right? Like the ideal mix of personalities.
That was exactly the initial assumption. Very logical for Google. The researchers, led by Dubé, analyzed 180 teams across the company, gathered massive amounts of data.
Your kind of data.
Everything. Personality type, skills, backgrounds, gender balance, even how strong the managers were perceived to be. And the revelation was, well, astonishing.
What did they find?
After all that rigorous analysis, they found almost no statistically significant link between individual team composition, the who, and actual team success.
Really? So it didn't matter if you stacked a team with geniuses or specific personality types. That flies in the face of so much hiring practice.
Not in the way they thought, no. Teams with seemingly identical makeups could have radically different results. Sometimes even teams with overlapping members performed wildly differently.
Oh.
It forced a total shift in perspective, the surprising conclusion, how teams interacted, their shared norms, their dynamics that mattered far, far more than who was actually on them. It was the culture, not just the talent pool.
That's a genuine game changer. So if it's about how they interact, what are these magic norms? What did Project Aristotle find?
The single most foundational norm, the bedrock for everything else, was psychological safety.
That's psychological safety. Heard that term a lot lately.
It's crucial, and it was pioneered by Amy Edmondson studying hospital units. She made this deeply counterintuitive discovery. The good, high-performing hospital teams consistently reported more errors, not fewer.
More errors.
Yep.
That sounds bad.
Not at all. It wasn't because they were less competent. It was because they'd built a culture where people felt safe enough to openly admit mistakes, to speak up about potential problems, to question things without fear of blame or retribution.
Ah, okay. So psychological safety is basically feeling comfortable being vulnerable, admitting you messed up or don't know something.
Exactly that. On the best teams, leaders actively encourage speaking up, even when it's uncomfortable news. Teammates feel safe exposing vulnerabilities, suggesting half-baked ideas without fear of ridicule. Harsh personal judgments are actively discouraged.
So it fosters togetherness, but also encourages risk-taking.
Precisely. It creates an environment where failure isn't a career ender, it's a learning opportunity. Everyone feels supported.
Okay, beyond psychological safety, were there other specific observable behaviors?
Yes, definitely. A key study from Carnegie Mellon and MIT, which Google heavily relied on, found two other critical behaviors in top teams. First, equality and conversational turn-taking. Meaning, over time, everyone on the team spoke in roughly the same proportion. No single person, not even the leader, dominated the conversation. Everyone got their airtime.
So active listening, valuing input, making sure everyone's heard, not just the loudest voice.
Exactly. Creating space and actively inviting participation. The second key behavior was consistently high social sensitivity.
Empathy.
Basically, yeah. Members of these top teams scored way above average on empathy tests, like the reading the mind and the eyes test. They were good at anticipating reactions, noticing subtle emotional cues, asking what others were thinking or feeling.
They were tuned in.
Very tuned in, not just hearing words, but understanding the person behind them. And interestingly, these teams also tended to have more women on them.
That immediately makes me think of the original Saturday Night Live cast.
Yeah.
There's this powerful narrative, right? That they were this super bonded group, like family with this magical chemistry.
Oh, yeah. The myth is strong. Legendary stories, Malcolm Gladwell talking about their extraordinary chemistry.
It's often held up as the ideal team dynamic comedic geniuses who just clicked.
That's the myth. But the reality, straight from original cast and writers like Ann Beatts and Alan Zweibel, very different.
How so?
Intense competitiveness, brutal infighting, cliques, vicious criticism. Lorne Michaels actually deliberately chose people with wildly different tastes. Zweibel was Borscht Belt. Michael O'Donoghue wrote super dark satire. They were often openly brutal to each other about the work.
So the extraordinary chemistry wasn't really about liking each other.
Absolutely not. Not in a personal sense. People like Garrett Morris felt like an outcast. Jane Curtin couldn't wait to leave the set each week. It was often, as one writer put it, a dismal, emotionally draining pressure cooker.
Okay, so how on earth did that team become so incredibly effective, so productive, despite all the tension and conflict? What was the real secret?
The real secret, surprisingly, ties directly back to psychological safety. Lorne Michaels, as the leader, was a master at fostering it.
How did he do that amidst the chaos?
He explicitly modeled social sensitivity. He made sure everyone felt heard, even if their ideas were shot down. He famously said he was happiest the more initials he sees on a script encouraging collaboration. He invited people to speak, acknowledged his own feelings, and crucially, he ruthlessly shut down escalating personal conflicts.
So critiques of ideas were okay, even encouraged.
Fiercely encouraged, but personal attacks, character assassination, absolutely not tolerated.
So he created this space where you could fight passionately about the work, but still trust your standing wasn't at risk personally. Freedom to fail creatively, but safety as a person.
That's the profound distinction, and it allowed them to take huge creative risks, pitch wild jokes, even if they bombed because they wouldn't be personally humiliated.
Wow.
So the big takeaway for you, our listener, is crystal clear. Superstars alone don't make a great team. Teaching average performers or even highly competitive ones to interact the right way with trust and empathy can lead to accomplishments. No superstar team lacking that safety could ever match. The how trumps the who.
That's a really powerful lesson. And speaking of empowering people, this leads us perfectly into lean and agile management. It's about trust, isn't it? Pushing power downwards.
Entirely about trust and empowerment. The core idea is simple, but revolutionary. Employees work smarter, more creatively, and ultimately better when they have more real decision-making authority and when they deeply trust their colleagues are committed.
So pushing decisions to the person closest to the problem.
Exactly. Instead of everything going up the chain, you unlock the expertise and innovation right there on the front lines, where it often lies dormant.
The NUMI transformation is like the legendary example of this, right? The Toyota GM joint venture.
The classic case study. They took over this notoriously dysfunctional GM plant in Fremont, California. Rick Madrid, a worker there, said work was just an interruption to my leisure time. Quality didn't matter. The assembly line never stopped no matter what. Problems just got passed down.
Grim.
But at NUMMI, under Toyota's influence, everything changed. They introduced the and-on cord.
The magic cord.
Pretty much. Any worker, anytime, could pull this cord and stop the entire line if they saw a problem without penalty.
That must have blown their minds, coming from never stop the line to please stop the line.
Total culture shock. And management, even Toyota's president, Tetsuro Toyota, actively encouraged it, even forced workers to pull it during demos just to prove they trusted them with that authority.
Building trust through action.
And they cemented it with a radical commitment culture. They promised no layoffs, said they'd cut exec pay first, cross-trained workers. This built immense trust and shared responsibility. It turned hostile workers into a unified, motivated team. Suddenly, everyone felt they were on the same side of the table.
Incredible turnaround. And this same idea, pushing decisions down, was used at the FBI with the Sentinel Project. Very different context.
Totally different, but same principle. The FBI was notorious for bureaucracy, especially with tech. Projects were slow, often canceled, delivered useless results. Before Sentinel, they were still using index cards for case tracking.
Index cards, wow.
Yeah. So Chad Fulgham, this sharp Wall Street exec brought in to fix it, introduced lean and agile methods. He deliberately gave decision-making power to junior programmers and the agents themselves, the people closest to the problems.
Letting the users drive the development.
Essentially, small, empowered teams could make decisions, experiment, adapt quickly, without waiting for endless approvals.
And the impact.
Yeah.
On a critical organization like the FBI.
Transformative. That empowerment fueled innovation. Sentinel went from being a basic record keeper to a powerful tool identifying crime trends, helping solve thousands of cases. Like the Frank Jansen kidnapping agents had the autonomy to pursue leads rapidly, make on-the-spot decisions, which was critical in a fast-moving crisis.
So the lesson for leaders, big or small, is clear. Signal trust. Give people real autonomy, support their ideas, make it safe to learn from mistakes.
Absolutely. That's how you unlock motivation and innovation. Build a culture where people trust each other implicitly.
Okay, let's talk about something we all wrestle with constantly. Focus. In our hyper-automated world, it feels harder than ever, and losing focus can have catastrophic consequences.
Indeed. The Air France Flight 447 disaster is just a harrowing example. The plane's sophisticated autopilot unexpectedly disengaged. Pilots had to take manual control.
And the junior pilot.
The junior pilot, Bonin, repeatedly pulled the stick up, despite loud, clear stall warnings, his co-pilot yelling to push down, basic physics screaming at him. They were plummeting, but he kept pulling up.
It's almost unbelievable. How could a trained pilot make such a fundamental error? Panic.
It points to a subtle but profound shift caused by automation. While automation makes flying easier, safer in routine conditions, it changed piloting from constantly proactive to more reactive.
So pilots got less practice actively flying the plane.
Less practice with the continuous critical thinking needed moment to moment. It subtly dimmed the brain's spotlight of active attention. So when a real startling crisis hit, Bonin was overwhelmed and defaulted to an ingrained but fatally wrong reaction.
And that's where cognitive tunneling comes in, David Strayer's concept.
Exactly. Strayer's research explains it. When we're overwhelmed, startled, under pressure, Our brain instinctively forces attention onto the most obvious stimuli, narrowing our focus.
Like tunnel vision.
Precisely. You miss critical information right in front of you because your attention is tunneled. Bonin tunnel-visioned on pull-up to gain altitude, ignoring all other cues, warnings, even his colleagues' shouts. He didn't think, he reacted instinctively, an instinct dulled by automation reliance.
That is terrifying. Considering our automated lives now driving assist, smart devices, constant notifications, we risk cognitive tunneling all the time, reacting instead of thinking.
Managing focus, consciously directing attention is more vital than ever.
So how do we fight it? How do we build better mental models to direct our attention?
A powerful contrast to Flight 447 is Captain de Crespigny and Qantas Flight 32. Catastrophic engine explosion, 21 of 22 major systems damage.
Nightmare scenario.
Absolute chaos. But he didn't panic, didn't default to one reaction. Incredibly, he removed his hands from the controls, took a deep breath, and consciously simplified the problem.
Removed his hands in a crisis.
Seems counterintuitive, right? But he used his deep, robust mental models of disaster scenarios to methodically analyze, not just react to the flashing lights and alarms.
Incredible discipline. That speaks volumes about mental models.
It really does. Another great example is Darlene, the experienced NICU nurse. She had this hunch. A baby was 6 subtle cues: mottled skin, slightly distended belly, odd bleeding from a heel stick. Things a newer nurse totally missed.
How'd she know?
She had this robust, vivid picture in her mind of a healthy baby. That internal model immediately focused her attention on the tiny anomalies. She spotted the problem way before it became a crisis.
So it's like expert intuition, but built on a deep internal framework, pattern recognition.
Exactly. Our brains are constantly building these mental models, internal stories about how things work, systems operate, people behave. But some people build much more robust, nuanced, flexible ones.
And you can actively cultivate that.
Absolutely. That MIT study on recruiters, the most productive ones didn't just passively receive info, they actively built mental models. They discussed candidates early, challenged each other's takes, constantly figured out how new info fit their evolving picture of the ideal hire.
And it paid off.
Literally. Significantly more in bonuses, yes, because that proactive practice sharpened their focus and decision-making. So, the actionable advice for you, listener: develop the habit of telling yourself stories about how things work. Envision scenarios. Challenge your own theories. Choose what deserves your attention. As Captain de Crespigny said, you can't delegate thinking. Force yourself to engage deeply.
Okay, from directing focus, let's talk about where to direct it. Goal setting. We all know SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timeline-based, standard business practice.
Yeah, SMART goals, made famous by GE, are super effective. They impose discipline, make ambitions concrete. That study with typists. Just a 15-minute chat to set SMART goals, increase their speed 10-12%.
Wow, quick impact.
It provides a clear roadmap, breaks things down, gives you measurable progress.
There's a downside. The source calls it the trap of triviality.
Those GE nuclear factory managers, under pressure to meet SMART criteria, started setting detailed but ultimately meaningless goals. Ordering staplers, preventing protesters from entering, things that were easily achievable but didn't actually move the needle on anything important.
So they were rewarded for achievability over actual worth. That feels wrong.
It absolutely can be. That's the limitation of only using SMART goals. If the reward system focuses purely on easy wins, people will optimize for that. Not for what's impactful or innovative, but harder. You get mundane, not transformative. Which is why you need stretch goals.
Ah, the big, hairy, audacious goals, like the Japanese bullet train story.
Classic example. 1950s, Japan's railway head challenges engineers. Build a 120-mile-per-hour train when the fastest was 65 miles per hour. Engineers say, impossible, not realistic.
And his response?
His brilliant, almost zen question: why do the trains need to turn? Not flippant. It forced a radical rethink of the entire system, straightening tracks, new tunnels, a total overhaul. Result: the world's first bullet train, revolutionizing transport, boosting the economy.
So the stretch goal forced innovation by breaking assumptions. Jack Welch did this at GE too.
Yep, challenged managers to cut engine defects by 70%. People thought it was ridiculous.
Wow.
But it forced a complete overhaul: training, hiring, factory processes. Every worker became a quality auditor. The result: a 75% defect reduction, way beyond the stretch goal, plus huge cost savings. Stretch goals make you re-examine fundamentals in ways SMART goals alone can't.
So it's not smart or stretch, it's smart and stretch.
Exactly. That's the ultimate lesson. You need both. Have a big, ambitious stretch goal for transformative change to expand what's possible. Then break it down into concrete, SMART sub-goals for a realistic execution plan.
Keep your eyes on the horizon and the next step.
Precisely. Balancing the wise stretch with the practical SMART steps, that's the sweet spot for breakthrough productivity.
Okay, building on choices and goals, let's pivot to decisive action and this idea of probabilistic thinking. Because being decisive, while often praised, can backfire.
It really can. Psychologists talk about the need for cognitive closure, that deep human desire for a confident judgment, for certainty, over the discomfort of ambiguity and confusion.
We like clear answers.
We do. And while it can drive action, a high need for cognitive closure can lead to dangerous closed-mindedness, jumping to conclusions without enough evidence.
And the Yom Kippur War example is just chilling.
Terribly tragic. Israeli intelligence chief Zira, obsessed with clarity, avoiding panic, just dismissed all the mounting evidence of an impending Egyptian and Syrian attack. He clung stubbornly to his prior judgment, defensive preparation.
He had achieved his cognitive closure.
And was psychologically locked in, unwilling to update his beliefs even with overwhelming new data. This led directly to that devastating surprise attack, massive casualties. His need for certainty became a fatal blind spot.
So how do we avoid that trap? How do we make good decisions when things are uncertain, which is, let's face it, most of the time?
This is where probabilistic thinking is essential. Annie Duke, the poker champion turned decision strategist, embodies this.
Poker seems like a good training ground for uncertainty.
Perfect training ground. Good decision-making under uncertainty requires thinking probabilistically. Understanding multiple possible outcomes, assigning likelihoods to each, not clinging to one certain future, balancing intuition with the cold, hard odds.
Sounds useful way beyond poker. Business decisions, life choices.
Universal application. The Good Judgment Project, GJP, found that just training people to turn hunches into actual percentage estimates, I'm 51% certain versus it's likely, dramatically boosted their forecasting accuracy.
Just putting a number on it forces more rigor.
Exactly. It forces you to question assumptions, consider alternatives, and crucially, readjust quickly as new data comes in. You're not aiming for impossible 100% certainty, but embracing the spectrum of possibilities and their likelihoods.
It's a different way of thinking.
Fundamentally different. And interestingly, we have an innate capacity for this Bayesian cognition. Our brains naturally infer patterns, make predictions from limited data forecasting movie hits, estimating lifespans. We use past experience to form prior distributions, initial assumptions.
But those assumptions can be super biased, right? We remember successes, forget failures, get over-optimistic, like with startups.
That's the insidious bias trap. We mostly hear about the unicorns, not the thousands that fail.
So, the actionable advice.
Okay, multi-part. 1, recognize your own need for closure. Actively challenge your assumptions. 2, cultivate probabilistic thinking. Envision multiple futures. Identify what you know and don't know. Ask which choice gives the best odds. 3, force yourself to learn impartially from all experiences, successes, and disappointments to build realistic assumptions. Be like Annie Duke. Commit to the odds only after thoughtful consideration.
That's a great segue into our next segment because good decisions often require creativity, and here we meet the innovation brokers.
Ah, yes, the connectors. Steve Jobs famously said, creativity is just connecting things. And it's profoundly true. Most original ideas aren't totally new. They're inspired combinations of existing stuff, seen in a new way.
And innovation brokers are the people good at making those connections.
Exactly. They're the intellectual middlemen. They transfer knowledge between different industries, groups, see how similar problems get solved in diverse settings. That study of electronics managers. The most creative ideas came from those who connected across departments, blending perspectives.
Cross-pollination. Makes total sense. Like West Side Story.
Perfect example. Initially, Robbins, Bernstein, Laurence struggled, leaning into cliches, but Robbins pushed them. Draw on your own experiences, your emotions as Jews and outcasts.
Make it personal.
Make it personal, ambitious, dangerous, deeply felt. That forced them to blend music, dance, dialogue in revolutionary ways, breaking the mold, creating a masterpiece.
Using your authentic self as creative fodder. But what happens when even talented people get stuck? Like the Frozen team.
The great frozen freeze. They'd solved huge problems but got completely stuck on the ending. They became too attached to their initial vision, lost their flexibility, couldn't see new paths. Very common in big creative projects.
So how do they thaw out? What was the jolt?
Disney execs used a cool concept, the intermediate disturbance hypothesis.
From biology.
Yep. In nature, moderate disruptions, a falling tree, a small fire, actually maximize diversity by creating gaps for new species. Too much stability, one dominant species stifles everything.
Okay, so applying that to a creative team. A controlled shakeup.
Exactly. They made Jennifer Lee a second director, a deliberate intermediate disturbance. It forced the team to rethink everything. Lee brought her personal experiences, reframed the ending around love versus fear.
And that led to?
That led directly to the breakthrough song Let It Go, which totally transformed the film's emotional core and made it iconic. The disturbance worked.
Brilliant. A well-timed disruption. So for you, listener, to be an innovation broker, 1, be sensitive to your own experiences. Use your inner world as fodder. Distinguish insights from cliches.
2, recognize the value of creative desperation. That stuck feeling isn't failure. It's a push to see old ideas differently.
And 3,
embrace intermediate disturbances. Small, timely shakeups, a new voice, a different routine can jolt you out of ruts.
excellent. Okay, finally, let's wrap with something incredibly relevant, maybe overwhelming. Absorbing data effectively. We're swimming in it, but often feel none the wiser.
The information overload paradox. We have phones counting steps, sites tracking spending, endless reports. Yet we struggle to make sense of it. Think 401ks with too many options leading to lower participation. People feel paralyzed. Or just not using spending data. It's information blindness.
So we have the data, but we're not turning it into knowledge or insights. Why? What's missing?
Our brains can handle vast info, but only if we break it down and organize it into mental folders or scaffolds. Experts, like a wine connoisseur, aren't just full of facts. Their knowledge is incredibly well organized, interconnected, easily accessible.
But it's not just organizing, right? There's this counterintuitive power of disfluency.
Yes. This is fascinating. The key step isn't just receiving info, it's doing something cognitive with it. Forcing yourself to engage writing notes by hand, harder than typing, reading a slightly tricky font.
Makes it harder initially.
Harder initially, but paradoxically leads to deeper understanding, longer retention, stronger mental models, because it forces deeper cognitive engagement. Easy come, easy go.
So making learning slightly harder makes you smarter and retain more? Wow. The Chase Collection Agency story illustrates this.
Perfectly. Debt collectors were overwhelmed by data, memos, couldn't process it during calls. Charlotte Flood's team found a breakthrough.
What did they do?
Instead of just reading memos, they started generating theories during lunch breaks. Younger people care more about credit scores, call women in the morning, stuff like that.
Hypothesis testing.
Exactly. This forced them to actively look for clues during calls to prove or disprove their theories. A soap opera in the background, a religious reference. They became super sensitive to subtle cues.
Turning raw data into actionable insights in real time. And it worked.
Vastly improved collection rates. They weren't passive receivers. They were active experimenters, constantly refining their approach.
We see this in schools, too. Cincinnati Public Schools.
Same principle. Just collecting student data did nothing. Success came when teachers learned to interact with it. They formed data rooms, found patterns like common math errors, developed targeted interventions, hot pencil drills. Test scores shot up because information became pedagogical knowledge.
And even for high school students facing tough life choices.
Yes, the engineering design process taught kids, many from tough backgrounds like Delia, to break overwhelming problems like babysitting an FU versus studying into smaller pieces, research options, brainstorm test solutions.
Applying structure to messy life problems.
It forced them to extract data from their own lives, reframe decisions, leading to clearer choices, opening doors to college.
So the big takeaways for absorbing data better.
Okay, for you, listener. 1, force engagement. Don't just consume. Use new info in an experiment, describe it to a friend, integrate it into a theory, do something with it.
2,
Turn data into experiments, generate hypotheses, look for clues, be a detective with information.
and 3,
Embrace disfluency. Use methods that make processing slightly harder, summarizing, explaining aloud, drawing diagrams. Force that deeper cognitive engagement to build stronger mental models.
What an incredible deep dive. We've gone from brain biology to team dynamics to innovation brokers and data absorption.
It's all connected.
It really is.
Yeah.
The central thread, the connective tissue through all these insights, seems to be that true enduring productivity, motivation, teamwork, focus, goals, decisions, innovation, It all stems from recognizing and proactively making conscious choices that others might overlook.
Choices others just take for granted, yeah.
Hmm.
And these aren't innate talents, they're learned skills, cultivable habits.
Absolutely. By consciously adopting and practicing these strategies, you really do have the power to transform how you approach challenges, interact with others, process the world.
Leading to a more fulfilling, impactful, and genuinely productive life. Not just busy, but productive.
So here's a final provocative thought for you to carry forward. Every choice you make, big or small, is an experiment. A chance to gather new data, refine your understanding. The question isn't if you'll make mistakes or face setbacks. That's guaranteed.
Part of the process.
But rather, will you choose to consciously learn from every single outcome, every success, every misstep? So what conscious, deliberate choices will you make today to fuel your own deep dive into smarter, faster, and truly better living?